Everyone present had beads of sweat popping up on their foreheads, racing a car on a snow mountain. Do you think you're playing Need for Speed? This is the coast mountains, full of snow and steep cliffs. Is there a highway for you to race on? And do you call that a car? What kind of vehicle can smash through dozens, or even hundreds, of meters of mountain rock and come out unscathed? An ordinary car would explode into the sky immediately upon impact, right? As for braking, it's downright ridiculous. This young man from the East was just spouting nonsense. Among the crowd, aside from the superpower users of the Sanctuary organization, there were also many researchers in white lab coats. Their research wasn't limited to superpower users alone. They were interested in anything within the scope of science. This place gathered all sorts of mad scientists. Because many fields of study were internationally banned from research, only such shadowy organizations could provide them with the funds and conditions for research. In the eyes of these mad scientists, neither morals nor money existed. They were, to some extent, just a bunch of obsessives. They would do anything for their research, even if it cost them their lives. What kind of power and strength would it take for a car to break through such a thick layer of rock and still be able to move freely after landing without a scratch? No matter how strong the vehicle, the people inside would suffer from the shock, right? This is a height of thousands of meters. Without any protective measures, people would turn into minced meat. How did these two come out unscathed? For a moment, many researchers were insanely curious about this pitch-black sports car. Mr. Monson, what to do with these two people is none of our concern, but I hope you can hand over this car for us to study, said one of the oldest researchers. His gaze constantly lingered on the solar panels at the back of the vehicle because, from their observations, that part was the most extraordinary. Professor Angel, please return for now. We will handle these matters, said the superpower user called Monk. Yes, I hope to see this vehicle intact in front of us later. If we could analyze its materials and power structure, we might soon revolutionize the organization's aircraft and vehicles. You know what this means. I will, Professor. Though Monsent was a superpower user, he was very respectful toward Professor Angel, for, in some sense, researchers were even more important than superpower users. After decades of research, more and more secrets of superpower users had been uncovered. With ample funding, they could create a superpower user, at the cost of a few lab subjects at most. But losing even one of these researchers was a huge loss. Of course, this only applied to the top-tier researchers. Under the protection of a group of superpower users, the researchers left, leaving only the organization's combat personnel. The organization had long received messages from Fenrir and his team that Fei Care had been taken by an unknown individual using an unknown aircraft, heading in the direction of the base. Because of this intel, these people had been waiting here, but they never imagined that the unknown individual, no matter how bold, would barge in so recklessly. They had just tried to contact Fenrir and others again, but the communication was lost. Members near Singapore were immediately searching the vicinity and found 3 barely alive individuals on an island just a few minutes ago. Each of them was heavily injured, especially Higer, whose bones were almost entirely shattered. They all looked unrecognizable, and if it weren't for their superpower users' tenacious life force, they would have been dead. Even so, they were in a deep coma, knowing nothing about who did this. After receiving the report, the 10 superpower users stationed at the base and over 1,000 other superpower users were on standby. They had guessed that Fei Care might have found some help to resist the base's control. The opponent was strong, being able to half-kill 3 superpower users, which was why so many superpower users were on standby. Fei Care, what do you mean by bringing outsiders into the base? Are you planning to betray the organization? Monson asked. Superpower users also had levels. The entire base had 3 level 6 superpower users and 1 level 7 superpower user. Monsent was one of the 3 level 6 users. A level 6 superpower user was practically equivalent to the peak of the heavenly human realm, and such ancient beings didn't exist openly in Huaxia, only perhaps hidden behind deep-rooted clans. Outsiders didn't know, but Fang Jueyu was well aware through Little Yi that not only were there experts of the heavenly human realm in Huaxia, but there were even 3 masters of the divinity transformation realm. As for level 7 superpower users, they were almost equivalent to the divinity transformation realm, with only 8 in the entire world. This showed the Sanctuary organization's immense power. Betray the organization, Fei Care sneered. I have never been loyal to the organization, so how can there be betrayal? You never considered me part of the organization. In your eyes, I am merely a test subject for studying innate superpower users. Return my parents and brother to me and provide the antidote for the slow poison in them. I'll leave immediately, Fei Care added. Also, I'm taking Angel with me. A mocking smile appeared on Monson's face. Fei Care, you're a mental power enhancer. Why say such laughable things? Even if it's a negotiation, do you have the capital for negotiation? Or do you think you found a helper? Monson's gaze fell on Fang Jueyu. As the world's richest man, Fang Jueyu's information had long been entered into their database. His identity was no mystery. The world's richest man, Huaxia, Fang Jueyu, 21 years old. Ha ha ha, Monson laughed. The world's richest man. And Care, are you planning to rely on him to resist the organization? Buy the entire organization with money. Not only Monson, but other superpower users also laughed. You seem to look down on rich people quite a bit. Fang Jueyu stepped forward. Do you know money can achieve 90% of what you want in this world? If it can't, it's just because you don't have enough money. Huaxia, your joke is interesting, Monson laughed. So now you're about to be killed by me. Since you're so rich, can you use money to escape from us? Escape? Why would I need to escape? Fang Jueyu pointed to the car beside him. Do you know how much this car costs? The sanctuary crowd remained silent. They hadn't analyzed the material structure of this car, so how would they know its cost? Excluding the power system, the material cost for modifying this car exceeded US $20 billion. Only US $20 billion, is that a lot? For the sanctuary organization, this amount was a joke. But have you ever seen a transport vehicle built for US $20 billion with such hardness? Everyone was speechless. They certainly had never heard of or seen such materials. Because although the modification cost only $20 billion, the value of investment behind the material technology is 1,000 times more. That's the power of money. Do you still want to say money can't make people immortal? Of course it can, as long as you have money. You can find a way to reach higher intelligent civilizations. Perhaps they have conquered death. What exactly are you trying to say? Monson's face grew increasingly grim. I just want to say that thinking there's something impossible in this world is only because you're too poor. You wanted to ask me, now that I'm about to die, how money can save me, didn't you? Fang Jueyu raised his voice. It's simple. With money, I can hire the strongest bodyguards in the world. Fang Jueyu snapped his fingers with his right hand. You've been waiting for a long time, haven't you? This young master is done showing off. You can all come out now. What? Someone else has infiltrated the base. Everyone felt a jolt of fear in their hearts. From the moment Fang Jueyu appeared at the base, he had an air of confidence, so no one thought he was joking. But the base had tight security all around. Were those advanced instruments just for display? While they were at a loss, figures poured into the cave entrance where Fang Jueyu had broken through. They landed neatly behind him, and each exuded an incomparable power. A total of 862 hidden elementers, 125 junior hidden elementers, 204 intermediate hidden elementers, and the rest were all advanced hidden elementers, all from the Lorphes family in North America. The Lorphes family, the oldest and most mysterious family in North America, was a power established there by Fang Jueyu's ancestors long ago, controlling his wealth across the continent. Ever since Fang Jueyu dealt with the Ladinic family last time, those with small schemes in the family have utterly quieted down. If anyone still harbored treasonous thoughts, the Ladinic family stood as a stark warning. Upon receiving Fang Jueyu's orders, they dared not slack off, immediately mobilizing the entire family's hidden elementers to converge here. Leading them was a middle-aged man who appeared to be in his 40s or 50s, named Lair Lorphes. Though he looked relatively young, he was over 200 years old, the oldest living member of the family. The lifespan of hidden elementers was similar to that of innate strongmen, between 200 and 250 years. Lair had been at this realm for a long time and was nearing his end, unless he obtained the second part of the potential guiding technique. Robbing Fang Jueyu was impossible, and no one dared to try, so they aimed at a path of unwavering loyalty, hoping Fang Jueyu would recognize their fidelity and grant them the next stage of cultivation. A small sanctuary organization could be eradicated by sending a few senior hidden elementers, but this time, even the clan leader himself came to showcase his loyalty. Young master, Clan leader Lair Lorphys of the Lorphys family has brought 862 hidden elementers and is here to await your orders. What the hell? So many people again. Last time, Fang Jueyu summoned a force of 100,000 hidden elementers and source energy users, solely to intimidate those in the family with ambitions. This time, he simply wanted to help Fei Care rescue people. Over 800 hidden elementers. Was he planning to dismantle the sanctuary organization 100 times over? What a waste of resources. I say, don't you all have anything better to do than stay home all day? In these times of cracking down on illegal activities, one might mistake me for some organization leader. I'm a model youth of the 21st century Huaxia. You and your blabbering, little ye couldn't bear it anymore. Why so many for a small sanctuary? Young master, we're here to bolster your prestige. Lair hadn't anticipated his attempt to butter up Fang Jueyu would backfire. Fang Jueyu's order was simply to send a handful, but Lair took it upon himself to mobilize the entire family's hidden elementers, feeling like he had a warm face toward a cold reception. Whatever, since you're here, I'll treat you all to a supper later, Fang Jueyu said casually. Hey, did you see that? Fang Jueyu said to Moncent. That's my bodyguard team, do you see? Fang Jueyu, are those really your people? Fei Care's voice trembled. Though she couldn't gauge their power, the overwhelming sense of pressure told her this group was terrifyingly strong. Yeah, the family manages my North American enterprises. The weakest one here could crush the sanctuary's superpower user. That's the Lorphys family's emblem. Moncent was struck with realization looking at the sun-like motif on their uniforms' chests. To the North American continent, it was a symbol of taboo. The sanctuary used to be just the second largest organization, with the top organization boasting 5 rank 6 superpower users and 2 rank 7. Yet, despite their strength, provoking this family led to their complete downfall overnight. It said that battle required only 5 family members. Now, facing a near 1,000 elite from the Lorphys family, how could their organization resist? May I ask which elder of the Lorphys family are you? Moncent asked cautiously. I'm Lair Lorphys, the clan leader of the Lorphys family. Even the clan leader came. Moncent looked at Fang Jueyu, who was leaning back and watching as if it were a show. Who was he to command the clan leader of such a family? Could it be he was so wealthy that even a family like this submitted to him? But for such a vast family, of what use would money be? Didn't they have enough of their own? Mr. Lair, our sanctuary and the Lorphys family have never crossed paths or harmed any member of your family. Why attack our base today? Did some fool of ours unknowingly offend you? Moncent asked courageously. Your sanctuary didn't offend us. Then why do you? We follow the young master's orders. Right or wrong, we comply with commands. Young master. Moncent's gaze returned to Fang Jueyu. Could he be the young master they referred to? Was the entire Lorphys family truly his private possession? Now you know, Fang Jueyu said loftily. I came here to give you face. Didn't you just need to follow Fei Care's instructions? Why make me call my bodyguard team over? Moncent's mind seethed in silent anguish. If he had known this family was yours, there would be no need for you to come in person. Just sending someone to negotiate would suffice. Who would dare refuse? Giving you one chance, bring the people I want over, Fang Jueyu demanded with an unquestionable tone. Quickly bring everyone here. Moncent, while not having the highest authority in the organization, carried weight with his words. In such situations, even the leader wouldn't have room to bargain unless they wanted to lose the organization. Shortly, a vehicle returned with Fei Care's family and a red-haired girl, Angel, in tow. Fei Care's family was unharmed, as it wasn't their first visit. The girl, Angel, was still unconscious. That's better, you know how to handle matters. Fang Jueyu nodded approvingly. I love peace. I rarely rely on force unless necessary. Young master, should we raise this place? Lair, seeing Fang Jueyu preparing to leave, asked hastily. Moncent trembled all over. Hadn't they handed over everyone? Why were they still considering action? Destroy all labs conducting human experiments, leave the rest. If the sanctuary were utterly destroyed, North America might face turmoil. However, Fang Jueyu needed them to lose the harmful tools. Assist in bringing Fei Care's family and friends back to Huaxia. Zhuang Ying will coordinate with you. Yes, young master, Lair replied respectfully. Moncent's face turned ashen. These labs and instruments were the result of their years of effort. However, before he could react, Fang Jueyu's gaze locked onto him once more. Remember, don't let me hear about any more human experiments being conducted. Next time, I'll send someone to flatten this mountain. You may not believe it, but I wouldn't test that. Even though the Sun God was just a two-seater sports car, after Zioya's modifications, it could comfortably fit 4 people. Fang Jueyu instructed Fei Care to place the unconscious Angel in the back seat for care. With a faint blue-green light, under the power of the solar furnace, the car slowly rose into the air, leaving the oppressive cave through the large hole they had blasted in. Rumble, before they could accelerate, explosions echoed from the base of the sanctuary, as if the entire American continent shook violently. Thick smoke billowed out from various damaged entrances and exits. I told them to destroy the laboratories, but this bunch of guys wouldn't have foolishly blown up the whole organization's base, would they? Fang Jueyu muttered. Fei Care stared blankly out the window, watching everything outside. This scene had appeared countless times in her dreams. All along, it was just a dream. She never thought that one day her dream would come true. That hellish place no longer existed, and for a moment her heart felt a sense of loss. Perhaps being treated as a test subject for so long had made her lose the meaning of her life. Regaining freedom brought a brief confusion. Fei Care, I'll have your family sent to Huaxia. I currently live in Jiangnan City. I'll have them arranged there. You can follow me from now on, Fang Jueyu turned to her and said. As per our agreement, you saved my family and gave us freedom. Now I belong to you, Fei Care said. Why does that sound so awkward? Fang Jueyu scratched his head. By the way, who is she exactly? The organization seems to value her even more than you. Angel is the most important test subject here, the #1 experiment. She's also an innate awakened superpower user, Fei Care explained. My awakened power is based on spiritual power of the brain, but she possesses an extremely advanced type of energy. Oh, Fang Jueyu became interested. Fei Care's talent was already extraordinary, yet there existed someone even more special. Her body seems capable of absorbing energy from stars, and in fact, her body can even mimic the process of nuclear fusion unintentionally, Fei Care said. Once, Angel accidentally awoke during an experiment. Due to severe pain, her emotions shifted drastically. Her body released an intense energy, destroying nearly a third of the entire base and killing hundreds of superpower users, including a 4th-order superpower user. That powerful? Fang Jueyu assessed Angel's superpower level, estimating that it would be around A level. To release energy capable of killing superpower users was truly remarkable. Even Fang Jueyu himself would find it nearly impossible. Zioyi, do you know what's going on? Fang Jueyu maintained his approach of asking when in doubt. Of course I know. This girl named Angel, like Gu Wan, is a special adaptability user. Adaptability user? I've never heard of it, explain it to me. It's quite simple. Superpower users are those who, through certain methods, manage to manipulate cosmic source power, but their efficiency in using energy is limited, as is their body's affinity for superpowers. However, innate superpower users like Fei Care are different. They have a high affinity for various energies and can adeptly use those energies without undergoing any bodily modifications. As for adaptability users, they are nature's darlings. Their bodies can absorb energy on their own, just like innate superpower users, and like source energy users, can actively harness cosmic energies to wield even more powerful superpowers. Then what good is this potential guiding technique to me? Fang Jueyu complained. That's not the same. Even adaptability users can only wield a single type of energy without the guiding technique. That would never take them far, Zioyi added. Of course, once they've trained in the potential guiding technique, their advantages further amplify. In the higher civilizations of the universe, they are considered favored children of destiny. I envy that, Fang Jueyu sighed. What's there to be envious about? Zioyi said disdainfully. You have the most advanced potential guiding technique, your parents left you with abundant resources, and in the entire universe, it's about the starting point. You've already won at the starting line. Moreover, these 2 girls are remarkable seedlings. If someday you decide to explore the universe, they'd be excellent companions. Yes, I'll take them both to the Super God Academy, but we must wait for this little girl to wake up. Angel was still asleep, likely due to her body's deterioration from long-term experiments. Zioyi informed Fang Jueyu that as long as he used the cosmic source power on her for some healing, she'd be fine. Such a precious experimental sample had been well protected by the sanctuary. For now, you two stay with me. After about an hour of flying, the car slowly landed in front of the villa at the Jiangnan Villa. As the optical camouflage disappeared, a massive head pressed against the car's windshield. "Darn it, Urguzi, are you trying to scam me for money?" Fang Jueyu cradled Angel as he stepped out of the car. Woof woof woof. Urguzi didn't have any airs of a cosmic beast, sniffing around Angel and Fei Care. Perhaps playing frequently with the neighborhood dogs stripped him of the dignity belonging to a soul-devouring beast. "You go play by yourself for a bit, I have some matters to handle." Fang Jueyu tossed a pill over. Urguzi easily leapt to catch it in his mouth, crunched it a few times and swallowed it whole. "Why isn't Xinyu back yet at this late hour?" Fang Jueyu placed Angel on the couch. Her entire body was somewhat grimy. He initially intended for her to bathe Angel. "Forget it, I'll help her recover her health first." Fang Jueyu gathered the life energy portion of the cosmic source power into his hand and slowly let it flow through her body from a distance. Her body wasn't damaged, just somewhat frail. Fang Jueyu carefully placed a pill into her mouth. Relying solely on energy nourishment wasn't enough for such weakness. "You're back? How were these past days in Singapore?" Gu Xinyu had just returned from her studio and recognized Fang Juyu's car parked in the yard, knowing he had already returned. But as soon as she entered the living room, she was met with a scene that made her blush. Perhaps it was the angle, but Fang Juyu's hand seemed to be wandering over Angel's body, making him look like a pervert taking advantage of an underage girl. "Fang Jueyu, what are you doing?" Gu Xinyu stormed over angrily. "How can you bring yourself to do this at such a young age, and with 2 or foreign little girls, pervert, lecher?" "No, let me explain." Fang Jueyu stood up, extremely embarrassed. He was merely helping Angel regulate her health. How did he end up being a perverted lecher? "I saw it just now, so you know clearly what you were up to." "I really did." "Wrong me, good goddess, I'm not a lecher." "Hey, don't call the police." "All right, it fits quite well." Gu Xinyu walked out of the bathroom holding the hands of 2 little girls. Under Fang Juyu's treatment, Angel had already woken up. Maybe due to the lack of long-term normal social interactions, she seemed a bit at a loss. After all, since she could remember, she had been lying in a cold laboratory, with Fei Care as her only friend. But Gu Xinyu's kindness and gentleness quickly lowered her defenses, and with Fei Care by her side, Angel seemed to realize she had left that cold laboratory, allowing her spirit to relax. The 2 little girls hadn't reached adulthood yet, just 14 or 15 years old, and in Gu Xinyu's eyes, they seemed like little sisters, especially after hearing their stories. Her maternal instincts were overflowing. Fang Jueyu, being wronged, was left alone in the living room, while Gu Xinyu took the 2 of them for a nice bath and had someone prepare suitable nightgowns for them. One's hair was like pure white snow, the other's like blazing flames. Standing together, the 2 little girls exuded an indescribable feeling. "Thank you, Sister Xinyu." This warm feeling made Fei Care long for it immensely, even moving Fang Jueyu, who watched this heartwarming scene. "Thank you, Sister Xinyu." Without receiving education or enlightenment, Angel's intelligence was still at the level of a young child, making even speaking a bit difficult, but her voice was quite pleasant to hear. "Why not just let them both stay here from now on?" Gu Xinyu spontaneously suggested, as she really liked these 2 little sisters. "I will take care of them." "You're overflowing with maternal instincts at this age," Fang Jueyu joked. "Should we try a bit to create one ourselves first?" "Fang Jueyu," Gu Xinyu's hand pinched the soft flesh at Fang Juyu's waist. "There are kids here, what nonsense are you talking about? Dream on." Ouch! Although Fang Jueyu wasn't hurt at all, he feigned a grimacing expression to cooperate. After all, women always need to be coaxed. Fei Care, though still young, had more knowledge in her head than an ordinary scholar. How could she not understand Fang Juyu's baby carriage talk? However, she just smiled, enjoying this family-like atmosphere even more. "Fei Care, you can stay here. There are many empty villas nearby. I can arrange for your family to move here. If you want to go to school, I can arrange that too." "No need, universities can't teach me anything new," Fei Care replied with a smile. "I memorized all the knowledge I needed 2 years ago, at least in the field of computers. Now, I'm more interested in that place you mentioned." "You're not cute at all," Fang Jueyu pursed his lips. "You're only in your teens, yet act as mature as someone in their 50s or 60s. It's no fun. Unlike you, in your 20s and still acting like a kid, causing trouble in the sanctuary." Fei Care responded without hesitation. In the face of such grand scenes, Fang Juyu's demeanor was unquestionably extraordinary. However, his words and actions often drastically contrasted with his air, making one wonder what kind of living environment had shaped his personality. That's called enjoying life, do you understand, Joy? What's more satisfying than showing off? Fang Juyu retorted. A man can be not handsome or rich, but he can't lack charm, otherwise he's no different from a salted fish. All right, you two, stop bickering. Guo Xinyu quickly stepped in as the mediator. One wrong word and they were bickering, both of them quite immature. From now on, I'll take them to the Super God Academy. The two of them had considerable talents, and the Super God Academy could help them maximize their potential. Moreover, systematic learning could help Angel quickly establish her own world and values. Given her talent, she should be able to soon transform into a socially well-adjusted person. All right then, I'll leave these two little sisters to you. Great, Guo Xinyu happily pulled them along. Let's sleep together tonight. What? The three of you together? Where will I sleep tonight? Fang Juyu immediately became unhappy. After representing the country abroad and returning home without a girlfriend to warm his bed, could this life continue like this? We don't care about you, blah. Guo Xinyu and Fei Care both stuck their tongues out at Fang Juyu, while Angel, not understanding what was said, imitated them with a cheerful smile. Fine, I'll sleep alone, who's afraid? Fang Juyu sulked, grabbed a pillow, and stormed into the bedroom. Fang Juyu, is this where you learned computer technology? I've told you several times I'm a few years older than you. Don't call me by my name, call me Brother Fang. Hey, in terms of mental age, I'm way older than you, okay? Bullcrap, look at how immature you are, not even as mature as Angel. Didn't your teacher teach you to respect the elderly and love the young? These two are never at peace for a moment. Guo Xinyu looked at the two of them quarreling and smiled wryly. It seemed that after breaking free from the sanctuary's control, Fei Care's true nature was unleashed. Without hesitation, they imprinted the school badge on themselves and, under Fang Juyu's lead, entered the Super God Academy. Director, did you bring new students again? What kind of talents do they have this time? The janitor lazily asked. This white-haired one, leave her to Professor X, he's the expert on spiritual power. Also, find some teachers in the computer field. She seems particularly fond of this area. All right, Director. As a beam of light appeared, Professor X, sitting in a wheelchair, beamed at Fei Care. He could sense that Fei Care's talent in this area surpassed that of ordinary people, making her a promising candidate. Baldy, will I lose my hair in the future? Fei Care frowned. Where do you get so much nonsense? Fang Juyu gave her a push forward. Professor, this little kid is yours. Hee, don't worry, Director. I'll teach her well. Professor X locked onto Fei Care with his spiritual power and lifted her into the air. Hey, what are you doing? Baldy, let me down. Ah, peace at last. Fang Juyu breathed a sigh of relief. As for this little girl, she seems a bit special. Besides common knowledge, I'm not sure what she should study. That's easy. The janitor extended a finger and gently tapped her forehead. Woo! Intense flames immediately spread out from Angel, with the heat reaching thousands of degrees. Fang Juyu released a stream of cosmic source power to intercept the heat wave. Such a terrifying talent. Master, what are you doing? Director, you'll find out soon, the janitor mystically replied. As soon as he finished speaking, Yao Chen, the medicine venerable, arrived with fighting energy wings. Director, I just sensed a strong fire ability. Did you bring a new student? This talent is perfect for alchemy, I guarantee. Within 2 months I can make her into an alchemist. Whoosh! Another beam of light appeared, surrounding a woman engulfed in flames. Her aura even made Fang Juyu a bit fearful. I just sensed a similar energy to the Phoenix power, Director. Is it this little girl? Phoenix woman, you're here too, but you're too late. She's already going to learn alchemy with me. Old geezer, you're talking nonsense, Phoenix woman retorted fiercely. Training in that stupid alchemy is wasting her talent. This is not just any flame, do you know constant star flame? Bah, old geezer, my specialty is handling fire. How about a duel then? Bring it on, just don't go crying to the director if you lose. Whoosh, a frigid white flame instantly turned half the sky white. Damn it, you old shameless man, you tricked me. Let's go quickly. Fang Juyu grabbed Guo Xinyu and left the Super God Academy immediately. Fang Juyu had witnessed a group of teachers scrambling for students last time, and it was like gods fighting. It seemed today's scene might replay. Fang Juyu's trailer for Battle Through the Heavens caused a huge sensation worldwide. with its stunning special effects and exquisite visuals making every fan of the original feel that this was the work they had envisioned. To make this project perfect, Wang Kang even spent a fortune to bring in the book's author to write and guide the plot. Most authors tend to sell their work and then not care as long as it makes money, but this project caught the original author's attention too. He hoped his work would be perfectly adapted to the screen, not just shown through text and mix. Xiaoyi informed Fang Jueyu that those, including Qi, who tried to attack him in Singapore last time, were not dead but were severely injured and taken away by Singapore's official superpower users. Given the severity of their injuries, without a healing system superpower user or special medical equipment, they would likely still be lying in a hospital at this time. As for Brella, Fang Jueyu was never someone to easily let things go. Even though he didn't suffer much, there's no way he would just let the mastermind behind the scenes get away. Offers Hew'd easily find someone to kill Brella, but he wanted to do something more interesting, because sometimes death isn't the worst outcome. Other than the battle scenes, the rest of the plot was already being filmed intensively. The Taklamakan Desert, once a barren land with only a few tourists visiting, had become a popular tourist attraction since this small town was built out of nowhere. The entire Wooten city was almost complete. The next project was to construct the Tagore Desert and the Snake Man tribe, using the Taklamakan Desert as a foundation. Since the Snake Man tribe consists mostly of stone structures, including altars and other large buildings, construction would take a bit longer, estimated to finish and open in 6 months to a year. Because they saved a lot on time for battle scenes and special effects production, the filming progress was exceptionally fast, especially for the actors who were full of anticipation for this project. They were puzzled though. Even though they hadn't participated in shooting, why did the trailer feature actors who looked exactly like them in appearance and stature? Had Huaxia's special effects technology really advanced to such an incredible level? With a long time before the graduation ceremony, Zhu Shank fulfilled his promise by giving Fang Jueyu excellent grades on his graduate design. Now he just had to wait until June to collect his diploma and degree certificate, then bid farewell to all. As for the honorary professor title, Fang Jueyu had already sent Liu Kao and the other two to the Super God Academy. With the three of them there, Jiangnan University wouldn't need to worry about any petitions next year. However, many teachers at the academy had complaints about Fang Jueyu's professor title. Zhu Shank was still working on it, but since these titles were just nominal, Fang Jueyu didn't care and didn't bother with it. Ever since the film city was built, Fang Jueyu had wanted to come and take a look. With more than a month of free time, he went with Wang Kang to visit the film base and check on the filming progress. When they arrived, the crew was shooting a very classic scene, and aside from the crew, the surrounding area was crowded with tourists and movie fans. Nalan Yanran, east of the river for 30 years, west of the river for 30 years, don't bully the young and poor. Cut, the director ended today's shoot with satisfaction. Everyone worked hard today, filming went smoother than expected. Yang Kao was all smiles. For years, he'd been working with young actors who lacked both experience and skill, having to redo countless times, and it was incredibly frustrating. Now, however, this group of seasoned actors performed excellently, eliminating the need for repeated takes. This was indeed the most delightful kind of work. Director, you worked hard too. Hu Yao and others came forward to express their thanks. At the current filming pace, we'll complete the first episode's plot in no more than 3 months. As long as Mr. Fang's battle effects are fine, we can premiere it during the summer. Great, the actors all showed happy expressions. They didn't wait to see this drama. Everyone worked hard. Fang Jueyu and Wang Kang emerged from the crowd. Not long ago, Fang Jueyu gave Wang Kang a body-tempering pill. His ailments from the past few years had completely healed, and he felt incredibly energetic, with even his appearance showing improvements. Many fans had turned from haters to admirers of his looks. As for Fang Jueyu, people used to see him as just a rich and capricious individual. After his donation was exposed, his popularity skyrocketed. This time, bringing an international championship trophy back to Huaxia gained him a new group of talent fans. A principal and a dean appeared together, causing a burst of cheers from the surrounding crowd. Their popularity was no less than that of these popular and skilled stars. Okay, everyone stop taking pictures. We rely on talent, not looks, Fang Jueyu joked. I'm hosting tonight, let's have a meal together, order whatever you like. Fang Jueyu generously waved his hand. Can I have some crayfish? Zhou Mengnan, playing little medical immortal, blinked her big eyes. Eat, all you know is eating. Wang Kong, who was quite close with Zhou Mengnan, joked without reservation. This desert here, where can you find crayfish? I'd like grilled noodles and mantis shrimp instead. I was just saying, Zhou Mengnan said plaintively. The film city had just been built. Although many merchants had already settled in, the cost of transporting goods was still too high, especially fresh ones. They only had some vegetables and meat here. What are you afraid of? It's just crayfish, isn't it? Old Fang, are you serious? It's almost 5 o'clock now. Are we driving to the nearest city to eat? Impossible, right? There's no airport around and your private jet can't be transported here. Who said anything about transporting? Can't I just go get some takeout? Fang Jueyu said. Find a place to sit and make a list for me. Takeout? How will you go run there? Wang Kong knew Fang Jueyu was skilled, but the nearest city was quite a distance away, let alone finding a place to buy river delicacies and seafood. Don't worry about that. I'll be off and back soon. Without waiting for anyone to stop him, Fang Jueyu dashed away out of sight. Over 20 minutes later, in a restaurant at the filming base, the main cast gathered around a table with a few scattered home-cooked dishes. Filming had been going on for almost half a month, and they'd been eating the same meals daily, which no one complained about, but there was some internal grumbling. Where on earth did the dean go? Didn't he promise something he'll deliver and run off? Zhou Mengnan was playing with her chopsticks out of boredom. Bang! The box door was pushed open, and Fang Jueyu entered with large and small plastic bags. Equipped with a solar furnace, the sun god reached speeds exceeding 70 Mach, making trips to the nearest city to buy seafood take only a few minutes. Who just said I was bragging? Fang Jueyu put the things on the table. Hairy crabs, lobsters, mantis shrimp, and grilled noodles that you wanted. How did you do it? Wang Kong was dumbfounded. I drove. I spent hundreds of billions of US dollars upgrading my car's power system, and in less than 20 minutes I can go anywhere in the world. Hundreds of billions, Zhou Mengnan's teeth chattered. Even if there was money, you needed technology. From some insider news, they knew the desert governance was actually based on Fang Jueyu's technology. How much high-tech did he have? Don't just stand there, help me lend a hand. I'm happy today and I'll personally. Let me show you what a Chinese little chef is. Hearing this, Wang Kong's eyes sparkled immediately. He had tasted Fang Jueyu's dishes once, and since then, he didn't look at other food. By the way, does anyone want KFC? Golden Arches is available too, and stinky tofu. Oh my God, Mr. Fang, your cooking is just too delicious. I swear on my A-cup, this is the best spicy crawfish I've ever had. Boss, another bowl of rice, please. It was the first time the actors and director had tasted Fang Jueyu's cooking, and they were full of praise, surprised that he turned out to be such a versatile talent. There should be special effects here, Wang Kong said with his mouth full of oil. You must have learned this skill from the legendary chef, right? After studying at the Supercars Academy for a while, Wang Kong had me to accept this incredibly magical school, filled with thousands of intelligent robots. Last time, he even saw Xiao Zhai, the teacher of the animal training class. Haha, you found out. No way, next time I have to go learn some skills. When I visit my father-in-law, I can show off my skills. Come on, you'd better first master the most basic potential activation technique, or you'll really only get there when you're about to get married. Sigh, my life, always galloping through battles, but in the end, even heroes can't resist beauty. The film crew booked a hotel and the accompanying staff returned after filming ended. After indulging in food and drink, they headed towards the hotel. Despite the late hour, the streets remained busy, indicating the town's promising development. Old Wang going home together tonight. The hotel was small but affordable and clean. With the modified sun god, it was only a 10-minute ride home for Fang Jueyu. Why squeeze into this small hotel room? Sure, just what I need to see how all your car's modifications are, Wang Kong readily agreed. He had never even flown a supersonic jet, let alone a car with speeds 20 times supersonic. He was filled with curiosity. Let's go. Just as the two were about to leave the hotel, they suddenly stopped in sync. Their enhanced hearing had BME extraordinarily sensitive, able to catch any slight movements around the hotel. Just now, there seemed to be an odd moan from one of the rooms. Did you hear that? Wang Kong asked. That doesn't sound normal at all. You heard it too. Seeing Wang Kong's expression, Fang Jueyu immediately confirmed his suspicions. Something disgraceful seemed to be happening in one of the hotel's rooms. Let's go. The two swiftly turned around and headed toward the room where the strange sound came from. Knock, knock, knock. Fang Jueyu knocked on the door. Who is it? I'm tired and planning to sleep early tonight. Whatever it is, let's talk tomorrow. An impatient voice came from inside. Who the hell is that? The hotel was only occupied by the crew, which by floor alignment meant it had to be a crew leader. Given the girl's moaning from inside, there was no need to guess what was happening. Damn it, how dare someone bully a young girl in my film crew? I have a temper. Wang Kong rolled up his sleeves and kicked the door of the room. Bang! Wang Kong had immense strength by now. After a period of enhanced training arranged by Fang Jueyu, his skills had almost reached the force transform level. His kick was enough to knock down an elephant, let alone a mere door. The door flew parallel to the ground, shattering the hotel's glass and landing in the open, empty dumpster area on the north side of the hotel. Fang Jueyu and Wang Kong rushed inside, and sure enough, besides a slightly obese middle-aged man, there was also a girl in her 20s. Her clothes were slightly disheveled, and a trace of tears was on her face, indicating she had just gone through something terrible. Who are you? The fat man had a flushed face, seemingly drunk, and his words were slurred. Oh, Zhang Jingzhong, you dared to do such things in my film crew. Wang Kong arnized the fat man and sneered. Old Fang, this guy is the assistant director of the crew, Wang Kong said. He's quite capable, but it's rumored he often does dishonorable things, and now it seems it's more than just rumors. Open your damn eyes and see who I am. Wang Kong slapped the fat man to the ground. Young Master Wang. Zhang Jingzhong finally arnized Wang Kong, and his speech turned frantic. He had intended to do something under the influence of Ahal, but hadn't expected to be caught red-handed by Wang Kong. But wasn't this girl supposed to be mute? She wouldn't speak or call for help, so how did they know? Are you all right? Fang Jueyu helped the girl up. She was a bit traumatized, her eyes full of panic. Tell me what happened, and I'll stand up for you. Although unable to speak, the girl communicated with Fang Jueyu through spiritual power without any hindrance. She looked at Fang Jueyu in awe, amazed they'd communicate in such a unique way. As he listened to the girl's inner story, Fang Jueyu's expression darkened. The girl was named Ding Qi, a deaf-mute, but her beauty made her a minor starlet, earning her a decent supporting role in this film. Zhang Jingzhang's routine was incredibly cliché, but it was impeccable for an inexperienced young girl, not to mention Ding Qi, who was as innocent as a blank slate. Soon others from the crew arrived, and seeing the scene before them, they immediately understood what had happened. Get lost, Wang Kong settled. Get lost, is that enough? Fang Jueyu despised such people. Turn yourself in, or don't make me use my methods to send you inside. Mr. Fang, I was drunk and confused, Mr. Fang. Drunk? I've only heard that Ahal emboldens words. The idea that drunkenness excuses misbehavior is just a lie for children. Fang Jueyu said. From today on, I'm banning Zhang Jingzhong from the entire industry, and if any company or crew uses him. Fang Jueyu chuckled. I'll buy them out and fire him, along with anyone who employs him. Everyone present shivered. Fang Jueyu was relentless. Although temperamental, he was genuinely wealthy and would back up his words with actions. They'd already imagined that if anyone dared to employ him, their entire company would suffer along with the individual. Who would risk confronting Fang Jueyu under such circumstances? Let me emphasize. Fang Jueyu raised his voice. Whether actor or director, pay attention to your professional ethics. If I find any inappropriate behavior or verbal abuse towards actors and extras, you're out immediately. From today, if anyone learns of such situations, report them to me or Wang Kong. If you have evidence and it's verified, I'll personally reward you with 1 million. Hiss, a gasp went through the crowd. Fang Jueyu was truly angry this time. Mr. Fang, please spare me. I really just had a moment of madness. After hearing what Fang Jueyu said, Zhang Jingzhong felt half of his heart turned. It was no problem for him to leave the film industry. He was almost 50 years old now, and his decades-long career as a director had already amassed a fortune enough for his extravagant retirement. But if he had to turn himself in, with Fang Jueyu's temper and methods, there was no chance of any under-the-table operations. Wouldn't that mean spending years in jail? You have to know, in prison, there is a type of criminal looked down upon the most: sexual offenders. Even though he only attempted, he would receive no different treatment, and it was imaginable how miserable he would be inside. What's wrong? Don't want to go to jail. Fang Jueyu would tell what he was thinking just by looking at his expression. Not wanting to go to jail is fine. How about staying a few years in my Dawn mental hospital instead? Zhang Jingzhang's head immediately shook like a rattle. Who knew what kind of weird people were in Fang Jueyu's mental institution? If he ended up in that ghost place, the horrors waiting might be worse than those in jail. In a month or two, maybe even a normal person like him would be driven insane. Since you don't want either, I'll give you another choice. Fang Jueyu snorted at his flabby body. Put your clothes back on Anver, that disgusting flesh. Yes, yes. Zhang Jingzhang, as if receiving a pardon, hurriedly put on his clothes that he had thrown aside. You know clearly what you've done, right? You should for this young lady's medical expenses and emotional damages, shouldn't you? Yes, yes, I'll pay it all. Zhang Jingzhang nodded like a pecking chicken. This girl wasn't some big star. At most, it was a little flesh wound. Drawing some blood was better than going to jail or being in a mental ward. And also, you should gain her forgiveness, right? A forgiveness fee isn't too much to ask for, is it? Not too much, not too much. Although Zhang Jingzhang had never heard of such a thing as a forgiveness fee, at this moment he would only nod. Why does this scene feel so familiar to me? Wang Kong rubbed his temples. It seemed like he'd seen a similar scene somewhere before. Oh right, Wang Kong slapped his palm. Last time when Fang Jueyu blackmailed that Gyuking sword sect, it was just like this, wasn't it? Now it truly seemed like history repeated itself. How about this? I won't ask for much, just compensate 30 million, Fang Jueyu said casually. What? 30 million? Zhang Jingzhang thought the matter would be resolved with a few 100,000 at most. How did it suddenly turn into 30 million? And that wasn't even the most important thing. The amount he'd earned over the years as an assistant director barely added up to this sum, and that included the houses and cars he had bought. Tome up with 30 million, he'd have to beg everywhere. Haha, is 30 million too much? Fang Jueyu chuckled cunningly. This 30 million wasn't just a random number. It was the result of Little Yi's investigation. His fixed assets and liquid funds mind roughly equaled this amount. If the compensation were too little, it wouldn't be enough to hurt. The remaining money would allow him to live in luxury for decades. But if it were too high, he wouldn't be able to produce it, rendering it meaningless. If Zhang Jingzhang forked out this money, he would soon fall into an extremely tight spot financially, possibly accumulating debts too. Being sealed off from the film industry, he'd have to find other ways to pay it back. Other than this, he had almost no other skills, and he would likely experience utter misery for some time. Mr. Fang, I really can't me up with that much money. Zhang Jingzhang was on the verge of tears. He really should have checked the almanac before admitting the crime. How did he run into this evil star? 30 million might not be much to you, but how many people earn that in a lifetime? Can a wealthy man like compare with us ordinary folks? Oh, really? Fang Jueyu said. The total cash across all your bank cards is around 7 million. Also, you own 3 houses worth about 19 million, several cars and some stocks, which should be a few million. Am I wrong? Zhang Jingzhang's eyes were wide open. Everything Fang Jueyu said matched his actual situation without fail. How did he know? Did he have prophetic abilities? Trust my methods, Fang Jueyu said with a hint of threat. I can't do things above the law, but I can have you face the severest penalties under it. Attempted rape can get you up to 10 years, right? Zhang Jingzhang's heart skipped a beat. By the time he got out, he would be nearly 60. And I know about your tax evasion activities too, with quite a notable percentage. That'll also earn you 7 years, right? And further, enough, Mr. Fang, no more on pensate. 30 million, I'll pay it all. Zhang Jingzhang's expression turned grim. Ha old Fang, yowled BME a judge. I think, as young as you are, pursuing a master's in law wouldn't be a bad idea, Wang Kong joked from the side. Mr. Fang, there's really no need for that much. He hasn't really done anything to me. The girl named Ding Qi pulled Fang Jueyu's sleeve and told him. You are too kind. Fang Jueyu sighed. There are some who remain unsullied despite growing up in muddy environments, but very few manage to stay that way. The girl in front was one of them. In that case, keep some of this money for yourself. I'll donate the rest to charity. Ding Qi nodded and showed a sweet smile. Ding Qi, would you like to be able to speak and hear? Fang Jueyu suddenly asked. Ding Qi looked at him with incredulity. Her deafness and muteness wearing genital, howled it be healed. What is it, don't you believe me? Fang Jueyu laughed. Ding Qi didn't know whether to nod or shake her head. Ha ha ha, don't worry about whether I can do it. Just tell me if you want to or not. Of course I do. Ding Qi nodded vigorously. It had been her dream since childhood. Then it's settled. Fang Jueyu slipped a badge into her hand secretly, then shot a glance at Wang Kong. Are you trying to build a harem? Wang Kong grinned. Fang Jueyu had just brought in Fei Care and Angel recently, and now here was another young, pretty girl. Though she was deaf and mute, Bai yowled some elixir to cure this. Shut up, Fang Jueyu sighed wistfully, cursing those two little kids. They wouldn't stop pestering Guo Xinyu for a bed, and he hadn't had any fun in ages. Old Wang, you handle the aftermath here. Take care of Ding Qi too, Fang Jueyu said with a laugh. All right, since you're the big boss. Wang Kong rolled his eyes but still took the task. Ha ha ha, thanks a lot then. Fang Jueyu gave Ding Qi a reassuring look, then left the hotel. What are you looking at? Wang Kong glared at Zhang Jingzhang. You've embarrassed me enough. Get lost. You have half a month to home up with the money. Don't think about playing tricks. Even if I can't deal with you, he won't let you have it easy. Zhang Jingzhang still held on to some hope, but after hearing Wang Kong's words, it was completely crushed. Life is just unbearable. Fang Jueyu woke up in the guest room of his villa, staring blankly at a Da Vinci painting hanging in front of him. Ever since those two little brats came, he had been sleeping alone for several days. Though full of energy, he felt a physical void. He had just woken up when his phone rang. It was a call from Zhu Shank. Professor Zhu, is there something you need from me? You've already given me a fantastic grade on my dissertation. You can't go back on it. Do you really think I would do that? I've already entered your grades into the graduation system. If you don't believe it, check for yourself, Zhu Shank said. I'm calling about something else. What is it? Is there another petition? Fang Jueyu's voice instantly turned lazy. Look, Professor Zhu, I haven't been feeling well lately. For small tasks like these, you can just find Lu Kao and the other two. I've taught them a lot recently. Winning a world championship should be a piece of cake. It's not about ambition. It's about what I mentioned last time, the honorary professor selection, Zhu Shank said, his tone beaming more agitated. As the head of the department, Zhu Shank held significant power but not absolute control. At Jiangnan University, as the department head, he only had the right to nominate. Even though the principal agreed to this matter, it still required a vote from all faculty members above associate senior level. The voting results were quite peculiar. Those with the title of academicians almost unanimously agreed to Fang Jueyu's application to BME an honorary tutor at the university. They say it's hard to speak ill of anyone who feeds you. Each of them gained substantial research funding for their projects from the money Fang Jueyu donated to the university. Just for that, Thale did not vote for him. What's more, they all knew that the national plant gene modification technology was created by Fang Jueyu. This achievement had already passed the review of the Nobel Prize Committee, and the results were waiting to be announced this year. Even though it wasn't clear if Fang Jueyu was the one truly behind it, just having that honor easily justified giving him the honorary professor title. A Nobel Prize in biology, what a high honor. An honorary professor title is nothing in person. However, this information only circulated within the circle of academicians, and the regular professors and associate professors knew nothing about it. A professor is usually judged primarily by their academic ability. It wasn't entirely false that Fang Jueyu brought the World University Student Network Information Security Technology Team and individual championship trophies back to the school, but it only proved his impressive personal ability and not predominantly his research skills. How would he BME a professor just like that? These professors and associate professors endured long years of struggle to achieve their senior and associate senior positions. In most universities, organizing at least one national-level research project is required to qualify for associate senior level. But how many teachers are stuck at this point? Each year, applying for national funds feels like 1,000 troops crossing a narrow bridge. Many fall, and only a few can secure funding. Then, they must have their own representative papers published, at the very least in SCI, Tier 1 journals. So by the time someone reaches this stage, they have already navigated significant challenges. Achieving associate senior status before 35 is considered impressive. Those who obtain an associate professor title before age 30 are regarded as remarkable individuals. Fang Jueyu was only 21. In their eyes, he was far from reaching the level of accomplishment and age expected of a full senior title. Since the vote was anonymous, More than 80% of faculty members above associate senior level voted against him, as the rules required at least 70% approval. Zhu Shank relayed the situation seamlessly. He had assured Fang Jueyu, but now the school didn't get on board, leaving Zhu Shank feeling a bit guilty. Professor Zhu, do you mean they don't think I'm qualified to be a professor? Fang Jueyu wasn't really interested in the title. For fame, what'd be bigger than being the richest person in the world? In terms of the benefits the title would bring, it was nowhere near as profitable as any of his pennies. As for honor, what'd be more convincing than a commendation from a national leader? That's exactly it. Fang Jueyu had laid it out quite clearly, and he didn't need to speak on behalf of the school's faculty. Haha, doubting my research abilities, huh? Although Fang Jueyu had Xiao Yi as his ultimate cheat, there were many materials that, even if he possessed, Huel didn't understand. After all, untless technologies are derived from foundational academic principles. To get acquainted with these technologies, Fang Jueyu didn't neglect his knowledge accumulation while practicing the potential guiding technique and various other skills. In almost a year, the knowledge he acquired, while not impassing all subjects and fields, had exceeded the limits of Earth's current civilization in 20 or 30 disciplines. So much so, with just one article in any given field, Huel generates significant buzz in the academic world. Professor Zhu, pass on to the reviewmity this message for me. Give me 1 week, and I'll showcase my academic level and suggest they reevaluate my research accomplishments afterwards. Although the title wasn't important, personal dignity was on the line. Weren't they underestimating him, thinking an undergraduate senior student wasn't fit to be a professor? Well, he would make them wholeheartedly vote for him. Are you serious? Zhu Shank asked. The simplest evaluation of research capabilities typically involves publishing results. Although reviews in high-grade journals sold return swiftly, potentially within a week, the subsequent revisions, publishing processes, and so forth assume time. How would it be possible in a week? Professor Zhu, just do as I say. By next week you'll see everything unfold. All right, I'll swallow my pride and appeal to the principal for you once more. What kind of paper should I publish? Fang Jueyu pondered. It'll be too beyond current technological bounds but still had to shock the academic community. This was a tough choice. Lost graphene production method. That might work. Graphene was the hottest material at the moment, but its production cost was very high. Even lower quality variants were around 400 yuan per gram on the market, way more than gold. However, Fang Jueyu had dozens of low production methods, some making it possible to produce several grams for just a few cents. Principle of the anti-gravity system. No, too advanced. Let's choose another. Targeted drug carrier treatment for tumor cells. It be too ahead of its time. The treatment efficiency is too high. Maybe I should lower it a little for an article. Detailed analysis of sow mating. With pork prices rising so sharply, it's very practical. It'll make a top biology journal submission, but I wonder if foreign pork is as expensive. Chapter 280, 1-281, 10 papers on science and 10 papers on nature. Nature and Science were the world's most prestigious interdisciplinary academic journals. Untless scholars took pride in publishing their papers in these two journals. In Huaxia, the number of articles published annually in such journals was so few that one'll count them on one's fingers. Some 985 schools had not even published a single academic paper in these journals. Many schools even had a clear monetary offer, rewarding anywhere from 5 million to 20 million if Yaold publish a paper in the official edition of Nature or Science, which demonstrated these academic journals' authority. However, the difficulty of publishing such papers was also incredibly daunting. As of this year, there were approximately 10 million researchers worldwide. Assuming each paper had a single author, statistically, only 1 or 2 out of every 10,000 old publish in Nature and Science. This probability was unbelievably low. Therefore, as long as you had a paper in Nature, nearly all first-rate universities and 211 leges would directly hire you as a professor, even if Yaold didn't BME a professor at a 985 institution. Being an associate professor would be quite easy. Several editors at Nature magazine were processing submissions they had received today. As a top-tier journal of global academic authority, the Nature editorial office received hundreds of submissions from around the world each week, but more than 90% were directly rejected. The selection process was extremely rigorous. Anything that didn't meet their level or lacked practical utility was almost entirely disregarded. Offers, there had been interesting instances where submissions rejected by Nature went on to win the Nobel Prize. However, these occurrences were rare, barely affecting the authority of magazines like Nature. They had already reviewed over 20 articles today, but none had caught their attention. They even found themselves getting a bit drowsy while reading. Truly, people will submit any level of article to Nature. Nick, one of the editors, reclined in his lounge chair, feeling a bit overwhelmed. Ha, don't be so grumpy. If just one article gets accepted, that person's life might change. Offers. There are many trying to luck their way in. We just need to read carefully. If the pay wasn't decent, I would have quit a long time ago. Nick sat up again and opened another article. Fang Jueyu. Why does that name sound so familiar? Is he some authoritative expert in Huaxia's academic circle? I know, the newly crowned richest person in the world from Huaxia is named Fang Jueyu. Maybe it's just a namesake, Nick continued reading the submission. Huaxia's culture was vast and profound. Perhaps many people shared the name Fang Jueyu. But since it wasn't the world's richest person, it should be an ordinary researcher without fame. As editors, one of their essential skills was remembering the names of leading figures, to avoid missing high-level articles due to negligence when these individuals submitted their work. The article was titled Targeted Therapy for Drug Resistance in Cancer Cells, and this title immediately caught Nick's attention. Cancer had long been an uncured enemy of humankind, and any breakthrough was a monumental progress for humanity. Cancer cells sounded terrifying, but simply put, they were just mutated cells. Normal cells divide, but only a limited number of times, whereas cancer cells divide limitlessly, metastasize, thus assuming body functions and nutrients, ultimately leading to human death. In the human body, there was something called EGFR, which was one of the epidermal growth factor receptors, playing important roles in cell growth, proliferation, differentiation, and other physiological processes. It was like a human switch-trilling cell division. But mutations in the EGFR of cancer cells remained in the on state, causing abnormal cell proliferation and transforming normal cells into cancer cells. When EGFR inhibitors were developed, they caused a sensation in the academic world, and humanity thought they had found the dawn of curing cancer. However, initially, cancer cells were indeed eliminated, but they lay dormant like sparks. After 3 to 6 weeks, these sparks began to explode, quickly forming a prairie fire of resistance. Although many scholars were studying anti-drug resistance agents for EGFR, their effects were minimal, while this article introduced an extremely effective anti-resistance agent. Anti-resistance effectiveness of up to 95%. That's absurd, right? Nick fed at the number he saw. These anti-resistance agents were specifically aimed at lung cancer tumor cells. If they truly achieved this level of effectiveness, the cure rate for lung cancer would be increased dozens of times. Hey, Marshall, me here. I feel like there's something fishy with this article, Nick called. Marshall glanced at the article. Though the results seemed incredible, the article was supported by a substantial amount of data. These figures were not derived from Fang Jueyu's clinical experiments, as he didn't have that much time. Compiling this article took only a few dozen minutes, and naturally, they weren't fabricated. Relying on the supercomputer's computational simulation capabilities and his molecular control, this data was almost accurate. Perhaps we should refer it to an expert. If there's a problem, it's not on us. Great idea, Nick nodded vigorously. This was indeed a wise approach. Although the two editors were well informed, they didn't have authority in every academic field for an comprehensive journal like this. But if this turns out to be genuine, publishing it in our journal aside, it'll even easily win a Nobel Prize in medicine. Who should we send it to? Send it to Professor Coleman at the University of Birmingham. He is the most authoritative on this matter, and he should be able to determine the authenticity of the data. All right, contact him. I'll continue reviewing the rest of the submissions. Nick opened the next submission, only to find it was also authored by Fang Jueyu. However, he was certain this time it wouldn't be just a namesake, because all the authors' addresses were from the same school, Jiangnan University in Huaxia. This person is quite interesting. Does he have other research on cancer cells? Huaxia had a saying, 10 years to sharpen a sword, and there had been precedents of previously unknown scholars suddenly having 3 articles published in Nature after a decade of research. The origin of jet accretion disks. Just the title made it clear this wasn't in the field of cancer at all and had nothing to do with medical biology. Is this something from the field of astronomy? Nick had almost no understanding of it, but after some investigation, the issue turned out to be a theoretical exploration without an confirmed answer from academia. Had this person actually accomplished it? Looks like we'll need to trouble those experts again. Nick set this article aside. He didn't dare to casually reject it before confirming its authenticity, because if it revealed some groundbreaking discovery and was published in another journal, it would imply they had failed to harness talent. However, the next one was still from Fang Jueyu. In fact, there were 10 submissions with Fang Jueyu as the first author. Research on the combination of protons and neutrons into stable atomic nuclei, a novel method for graphene preparation. Research on ultrafast charging car batteries, neutrino superluminal anomaly hypothesis. These articles amazingly span various fields, addressing unsolved academic issues or providing improvement solutions. Ring ring, Nick's work phone rang. Nick, you won't believe it, I just received 10 submissions from the same person today, and they all involve breakthroughs in hot and challenging issues. An excited voice called. This person was an editor for Science magazine, and he shared a good personal relationship with Nick. One of the articles has already been verified. It's feasible. The other articles are also under review. How can this world have such a person? Did he steal an alien's USB stick? You aren't speaking of Fang Jueyu from Jiangnan University, are you? How do you know? Because our journal also received 10 submissions from him. Chapter 280, 1-281, 10 papers on science and 10 papers on nature. Nature and Science were the world's most prestigious interdisciplinary academic journals. Countless scholars took pride in publishing their papers in these two journals. In Huaxia, the number of articles published annually in such journals was so few that one will count them on one's fingers. Some 985 schools had not even published a single academic paper in these journals. Many schools even had a clear monetary offer, rewarding anywhere from 5 million to 20 million if Yaold published a paper in the official edition of Nature or Science, which demonstrated these academic journals' authority. However, the difficulty of publishing such papers was also incredibly daunting. As of this year, there were approximately 10 million researchers worldwide. Assuming each paper had a single author, statistically, only 1 or 2 out of every 10,000 old publish in Nature and Science. This probability was unbelievably low. Therefore, as long as you had a paper in Nature, nearly all first-rate universities and 211 leges would directly hire you as a professor, even if Yaold didn't BME a professor at a 985 institution. Being an associate professor would be quite easy. Several editors at Nature magazine were processing submissions they had received today. As a top-tier journal of global academic authority, the Nature editorial office received hundreds of submissions from around the world each week, but more than 90% were directly rejected. The selection process was extremely rigorous. Anything that didn't meet their level or lacked practical utility was almost entirely disregarded. Offers, there had been interesting instances where submissions rejected by Nature went on to win the Nobel Prize. However, these occurrences were rare, barely affecting the authority of magazines like Nature. They had already reviewed over 20 articles today, but none had caught their attention. They even found themselves getting a bit drowsy while reading. Truly, people will submit any level of article to Nature. Nick, one of the editors, reclined in his lounge chair, feeling a bit overwhelmed. Ha, don't be so grumpy. You know, if just one article gets accepted, that person's life might change. Offers. There are many trying to luck their way in. We just need to read carefully. If the pay wasn't decent, I would have quit a long time ago. Nick sat up again and opened another article. Fang Jueyu. Why does that name sound so familiar? Is he some authoritative expert in Huaxia's academic circle? I know, the newly crowned richest person in the world from Huaxia is named Fang Jueyu. Maybe it's just a namesake, Nick continued reading the submission. Huaxia's culture was vast and profound. Perhaps many people shared the name Fang Jueyu. But since it wasn't the world's richest person, it should be an ordinary researcher without fame. As editors, one of their essential skills was remembering the names of leading figures, to avoid missing high-level articles due to negligence when these individuals submitted their work. The article was titled Targeted Therapy for Drug Resistance in Cancer Cells, and this title immediately caught Nick's attention. Cancer had long been an uncured enemy of humankind, and any breakthrough was a monumental progress for humanity. Cancer cells sounded terrifying, but simply put, they were just mutated cells. Normal cells divide, but only a limited number of times, whereas cancer cells divide limitlessly, metastasize, thus assuming body functions and nutrients, ultimately leading to human death. In the human body, there was something called EGFR, which was one of the epidermal growth factor receptors, playing important roles in cell growth, proliferation, differentiation, and other physiological processes. It was like a human switch-trilling cell division. But mutations in the EGFR of cancer cells remained in the on state, causing abnormal cell proliferation and transforming normal cells into cancer cells. When EGFR inhibitors were developed, they caused a sensation in the academic world, and humanity thought they had found the dawn of curing cancer. However, initially, cancer cells were indeed eliminated, but they lay dormant like sparks. After 3 to 6 weeks, these sparks began to explode, quickly forming a prairie fire of resistance. Although many scholars were studying anti-drug resistance agents for EGFR, their effects were minimal, while this article introduced an extremely effective anti-resistance agent. Anti-resistance effectiveness of up to 95%. That's absurd, right? Nick fed at the number he saw. These anti-resistance agents were specifically aimed at lung cancer tumor cells. If they truly achieved this level of effectiveness, the cure rate for lung cancer would be increased dozens of times. "Hey, Marshall, me here. I feel like there's something fishy with this article," Nick called. Marshall glanced at the article. Though the results seemed incredible, the article was supported by a substantial amount of data. These figures were not derived from Fang Jueyu's clinical experiments, as he didn't have that much time. Compiling this article took only a few dozen minutes, and naturally, they weren't fabricated. Relying on the supercomputer's computational simulation capabilities and his mediculocentral, this data was almost accurate. Perhaps we should refer it to an expert. If there's a problem, it's not on us. Great idea, Nick nodded vigorously. This was indeed a wise approach. Although the two editors were well informed, they didn't have authority in every academic field for apprehensive journal like this. But if this turns out to be genuine, publishing it in our journal aside, it'll even easily win a Nobel Prize in medicine. Who should we send it to? Send it to Professor Coleman at the University of Birmingham. He is the most authoritative on this matter, and he should be able to determine the authenticity of the data. All right, contact him. I'll continue reviewing the rest of the submissions. Nick opened the next submission, only to find it was also authored by Fang Jueyu. However, he was certain this time it wouldn't be just a namesake, because all the authors' addresses were from the same school, Jiangnan University in Huaxia. This person is quite interesting. Does he have other research on cancer cells? Huaxia had a saying, 10 years to sharpen a sword, and there had been precedents of previously unknown scholars suddenly having 3 articles published in Nature after a decade of research. The origin of jet accretion disks. Just the title made it clear this wasn't in the field of cancer at all, and had nothing to do with medical biology. Is this something from the field of astronomy? Nick had almost no understanding of it, but after some investigation, the issue turned out to be a theoretical exploration without an confirmed answer from academia. Had this person actually accomplished it? Looks like we'll need to trouble those experts again. Nick set this article aside. He didn't dare to casually reject it before confirming its authenticity, because if it revealed some groundbreaking discovery and was published in another journal, it would imply they had failed to harness talent. However, the next one was still from Fang Jueyu. In fact, there were 10 submissions with Fang Jueyu as the first author. Research on the combination of protons and neutrons into stable atomic nuclei, a novel method for graphene preparation. Research on ultrafast charging car batteries, neutrino superluminal anomaly hypothesis. These articles amazingly span various fields, addressing unsolved academic issues or providing improvement solutions. Ring ring, Nick's work phone rang. Nick, you won't believe it, I just received 10 submissions from the same person today, and they all involve breakthroughs in hot and challenging issues. An excited voice called. This person was an editor for Science magazine, and he shared a good personal relationship with Nick. One of the articles has already been verified. It's feasible. The other articles are also under review. How can this world have such a person? Did he steal an alien's USB stick? You aren't speaking of Fang Jueyu from Jiangnan University, are you? How do you know? Because our journal also received 10 submissions from him. Chapter 282-282. Once I took a dump, and then I had an idea. In a laboratory at the University of Birmingham, a scholar wearing a white hat with almost no hair on his head was cautiously mixing a tube of reagent. Next to him was a small white mouse, weakened to the brink of losing its vitality due to stomach cancer. Professor Coleman, known as a world-renowned authority in the field of cancer treatment, might be mistaken by those who don't know him for being a 60 or 70-year-old scholar. However, he was only 37 years old. Completed his doctorate at 22, and at the invitation of his former mentor, stayed at the University of Birmingham to establish his laboratory focused on cancer research, a field he had been dedicated to. In 5 years, he had published dozens of high-level and highly impactful articles in top international journals. At 27, he was officially appointed as a professor at the University of Birmingham, enjoying high treatment and honors. Now he had trained many outstanding scholars, each with an article in Nature, Science, or Cell, and his academic level continued to rise. Offers the phrase brilliantly bald described someone like him. By 30, he almost had no hair left on top of his head. Hugh, it's finally done. Hopefully, the effects will be significantly improved this time. Coleman put down the utensil in his hand and carefully stored it. Although it was less than 2 milliliters, the raw materials in this small test tube were worth tens of thousands of British pounds. "Professor, there's a mail for you," came a young voice from outside the laboratory. "All right, Kevin, I'll be right there. By the way, you helped me grab breakfast. Much appreciated." Coleman took off his hat, washed his hands with disinfectant, sat at his desk, and leisurely sipped a cup of strong tea. "A manuscript from Nature." He glanced at the sender's name. "They really think I'm one of the editorial board members." Coleman smiled wryly, but there was a trace of pride in that smile, as this proved his academic authority in the field, a tarnish of his scholarly level. "Oh well, I might as well take a look and have breakfast while I'm at it." Generally, submissions from Nature were of high quality, offering him a glimpse into the research work of other scholars around the world. Handling drug resistance in targeted cancer therapies. This title immediately piqued his interest. He placed the item in his hand on the table, and his demeanor turned cautious, as he was an early pioneer in this particular area of research. The drug he had just prepared was meant to mitigate cancer cells' drug resistance. In academia, tutoring someone doing similar research felt uniquely empathetic. 95% drug resistance reduction. How is that possible? Reading the abstract, Coleman's first reaction was disbelief, having worked in the field for years without achieving even a 9.5% resistance reduction. According to his best projections, even if the drug was successfully developed, it'll only eliminate up to 15% of cancer cells' drug resistance at most, which was worlds apart from the results of this paper. This can't be right. If he dared to submit to Nature, he likely wouldn't be speaking recklessly. A major breakthrough would often be nothing more than a bottleneck. Once breached, it resulted in explosive improvements. Perhaps this scholar named Fang Jueyu had broken through that bottleneck, thus achieving such a treatment effect. These data don't look fabricated. Coleman meticulously analyzed the data. Aside from being unfamiliar with some new drugs, he would comprehend most of them. Judging by the position and structure of those drugs, they were clearly chosen to target cancer cell drug resistance. The critical part lay in how to synthesize them. Fang Jueyu's paper introduced the preparation method of such resistance-reducing drugs and testing of clinical results. If all the data were accurate, it was undoubtedly a significant breakthrough. If drug resistance efficiency would be further improved, stomach cancer might be the first cancer cured by humanity. Strange, such a remarkable individual, I shouldn't be unfamiliar with him. In Huaxia's Jiangnan University, there are only a few who research in this area, would it be a student or researcher trained by them? Coleman speculated. No matter, let's run an experimental verification first. At this point, Coleman's student had already brought in his breakfast, but his empty stomach was now the least of his concerns. "Kevin, gather everyone. I have a task for you all," Coleman instructed. "Here is a new drug synthesis formula. Our lab can meet all the synthesis conditions, so proceed with the clinical experiments. We happen to have some experimental mice undergoing drug resistance research, don't we?" "Yes, Professor, but weren't you going to experiment with your new drug first?" Hold off on that. If someone else has reached 95%, then my 15% doesn't matter. You have 5 days. Then submit the experimental results and report to me. I'll personally participate in this round of experiments too. But with overtime efforts, this segment's experimental data were ready by the evening of the 3rd day, and the effect was astonishingly good, even exceeding Fang Jueyu's results by 2.5%. Coleman, holding the experimental report, had slightly trembling hands, feeling both ecstatic and bordering on heartbroken. There was joy that a bottleneck in this field had finally been broken, and melancholy that he wasn't the one who did it. Fang Jueyu, I must get to know this person. Coleman purposefully contacted Fang Jueyu through his communication details during Huaxia's daytime. Professor Fang, Coleman began with this title. In his mind, someone with such remarkable achievements must at least be a professor, perhaps even holding an academician title. May I ask who you are? Oh, Professor Fang, I'm Coleman from the University of Birmingham. You may have heard of me. Can I say I haven't heard of you? Fang Jueyu replied awkwardly. He really didn't recognize the name, but with a quick scan from Xiao Yi, Fang Jueyu realized it might be related to that paper. Ha ha ha, it doesn't matter whether you know me or not, now we do, Coleman laughed graciously. I'd like to ask, Professor Fang, was your paper templated independently? Yes, I did it on my own, Fang Jueyu replied. And Professor Coleman, you don't have to call me Professor Fang. I'm only a senior about to graduate. That can't be true. How can such a talent not hold any title or position? It's a waste, Coleman spoke up for Fang Jueyu. You're telling me, last week I was up for a professorship evaluation, and 80% of my school's faculty voted against, saying my research ability was lacking. They're a bunch of fools. Fang Jueyu, in Coleman's mind, was nearly an idol, and such short-sighted people didn't realize what Fang Jueyu's new drug represented. Mr. Fang, you should just me to our school. I guarantee you'll immediately earn the title of professor here, with benefits no less than mine. Coleman was already contemplating poaching him. Sorry, Professor Coleman, I have no intention of leaving. I prefer Jiangnan University, Fang Jueyu said, mildly displeased after hearing Coleman's words. Only Hewald criticized his school, no one else sold. That's truly unfortunate, Coleman said with some disappointment. Could I presumptuously ask one more question? Mr. Fang, how did you come up with such a good concept, a sudden inspiration? Right, one morning I was in the bathroom, constipated for days and then suddenly relieved myself, and in that instant it felt as if I was possessed by a deity and the inspiration just came to me. Fang Jueyu fabricated. That's incredible, Coleman bafflingly seemed to believe it. Mr. Fang, I'll immediately notify the journal that your article will definitely be published this week. Rest assured, we must keep in touch. Certainly, certainly, Fang Jueyu replied perfunctorily. Coleman hung up the phone and suddenly stared at the toilet in his office, deep in thought. Kevin, me here. Professor, what's up? Anything the matter? Oh, help me apply to the school to have the toilet in my office removed and replaced with a Huaxia-style squat toilet. Kevin looked perplexed. Maybe next time I can squat out some inspiration too. Yes, that's definitely it, Coleman muttered to himself as he walked out of the office. Chapter 283-283. The side business I casually started. Dear Mr. Fang Jueyu, congratulations. Your article titled Dealing with Drug Resistance in Targeted Cancer Cell Therapy, submitted to our journal, has been officially accepted and will be featured on Thever of next week's issue. Once again, warm congratulations. Dear Mr. Fang Jueyu, congratulations. Your article titled Hypothesis on Neutrino Superluminal Anomalies, submitted to our journal, has been formally accepted and will be published next week on page. On Monday morning, Fang Jueyu had just opened his paper submission system to check the status of his submissions. All 20 of his articles submitted to /nature/ and /science/ had already been accepted. Publishing 10 academic papers by the same author in a single issue of the same journal was unprecedented in the history of both journals. Even more astonishing, this person was from Huaxia. As a result, both journals added a new section in this issue, specifically for the layout of Fang Jueyu's 10 papers. Not bad, pretty efficient, Fang Jueyu nodded in satisfaction. There was no choice. Each of his articles was so overwhelmingly powerful that even academic authorities, after verification, praised them and admitted that their scholarly levels were far inferior to his. If Fang Jueyu had only published 20 articles in the same field, it might have been more acceptable. After all, when someone has profound knowledge in a particular field, any partial breakthrough can be used to write an article. But each of his articles was in a separate field, meaning that this person in his 20s had almost accomplished what a group of top scientists seldom achieve in hundreds of years, which was the most shocking part. Even if one started learning from birth, it would still be monstrous. One field a year. For ordinary people, even getting into a field wouldn't be enough, let alone having such deep comprehension and foundation. But there was no way around it. As the phenomenon unfolded before their eyes, they had no choice but to acknowledge it. In an office at Jiangnan University, a professor named He Guanghua opened the latest issue of /Nature/ as usual. They were already at an age where prestige and money were all attained. But for those who had engaged in academia all their lives, their minds were always occupied with these things. They needed to recharge regularly to at least maintain their academic levels, so reading literature was a required for them. He Guanghua's research focused on lithium batteries, and he had published many high-level articles in SCI. Unfortunately, neither he nor his research group had ever had an article accepted by /Nature/ or /Science/. With limited academic caliber, what else would he do? High-performance lithium battery technology, 50% reduction in volume, 75% increase in capacity, tripling lifespan. He Guanghua's pupils suddenly dilated several-fold. Achieving any one of these numbers would be considered a major breakthrough. To have such leaps all at once, which countries researchers would have developed this, it was so incredible. He glanced at the author's name. Fang Jueyu, Jiangnan University. He was stunned momentarily. Is there a professor named Fang Jueyu at Jiangnan University? Oh right, it seems that last week there was a student to be exceptionally promoted to an honorary professor at the school. Seems it was in the area of computer science. That student was apparently named Fang Jueyu. He remembered clearly. This student named Fang Jueyu was now the world's wealthiest individual. At the time, he dismissed it as a joke, thinking how old a student who had just won some dubious championship been considered for a special professor title. Where in the world does such a favorable thing exist? He Guanghua, completed his PhD at 28, barely became an associate professor at 35, and painstakingly climbed to the rank of professor at 48, with the difficulties he knew all too well. How old a 21-year-old young man, without any representative articles, achieve what he reached at 48? He immediately cast a vote against it without a SND thought. Could it be a teacher with the same name? He Guanghua speculated, but it wouldn't be since he was familiar with all the teachers in the academy, and there wasn't one named Fang Jueyu. Could it be a teacher from another department working on lithium batteries? He opened the university's classroom system and entered the name, but the page showed no such person. Or a doctoral student or master's student with the same name. Although the probability was low, it wasn't impossible. Old Ding, help me check the student registration system to see how many students are named Fang Jueyu. He Guanghua directly called a leader in the archives department. Oh, old he, our school only has one student named Fang Jueyu, you know, the one from the School of Information. It's really him. With a thud, He Guanghua's phone fell to the ground. When he cast the opposing vote, his reason was unknown academic level and lack of representative articles. Today, the person published an article in the main issue of /Nature/, achieving something he never rolled in his lifetime, and it felt like a slap in the face. Wait, with a quick glance he noticed that today's journal layout seemed somewhat different. Why were all these pages typeset the same with highlighted letters? Typically, except for Thever, all other articles were treated the same. Fang Jueyu, another one of his articles. And more. He Guanghua was dumbfounded. This issue of the journal contained 10 articles written by Fang Jueyu. How would this be possible? These articles spanned fields like energy, astrophysics, medicine, biology, and more. Could it be a mistake with the name and school? But he immediately ruled out this possibility. World-class journals undergo repeated verification before publishing. How would there be such a mistake? Did he really publish so many articles? But how, when he's just a 21-year-old senior majoring in something unrelated like computer science? No, I need to go see the president. This is big. He Guanghua hurriedly headed to the president's office. The same scene occurred in other offices at Jiangnan University. As soon as the new issues of the two major journals were released, the news spread like an explosion. and almost all the universities in Huaxia knew one thing. A student named Fang Jueyu from Jiangnan University had published 10 articles as the first author in both the main issues of /Nature/ and /Science/. Once the news broke, it immediately shook the academic community, with verification confirming that this Fang Jueyu was not just a namesake, but indeed the current world's wealthiest individual, and the one known as the Dean, Fang Jueyu. Kid, what is going on? Were those articles really published by you? Zhu Shank, upon hearing the news, immediately called Fang Jueyu. What else would it be? Did you think impelled someone to change their name to mine? You must be a freak. How on earth did you do it? Aren't you studying computer science? Zhu Shank pressed on. Yes, but can't I take up a side project when I'm bored? Chapter 285-285. I want to massacre posts, making your articles unpublishable. Young master, compared to Mr. Fang Jueyu, you are much more high profile. Zhuang Ying handed a cup of tea to Fang Jueyu, having already heard about what happened in the morning. Although Fang Jueyu also possessed immense wealth, he only liked to spend money on indulgence, never enjoying stepping into the limelight, much less making his fame widely known. Do you believe that? Fang Jueyu took a small sip. You might not know my dad well. I feel like I've been deceived by him for 20 years. In Fang Jueyu's impression, his dad, Fang Jueyu, was just an ordinary, honest person and even a bit henpecked by his wife. But since he acquired Xiao Yi, he learned many unknown secrets. Fang Jueyu was practically a super double dealer, acting all serious in front of him but being a completely different person behind his back. Not to mention, besides his mom, Cao Lan, Fang Jueyu had several other women, and each of these women was practically a queen of Earth, which already said a lot. Not only that, since he inherited Xiao Yi and his dad went to the galaxy, his true nature showed even more, with each video chat filled with banter that even Cao Lan couldn't stop him. Could someone like that have stayed out of trouble on Earth? Fang Jueyu actually knew the secret. Several generations of the Fang family had bought an interesting device from other civilizations in the universe that could erase all traces and memories of a person on a planet. With Xiao Yi's precise control, only those families loyal to the Fang family still carried out their mission. Online, in human memory, the part about Fang Jueyu was long erased. And this device was with Xiao Yi, which Fang Jueyu intended to use when sending Fang Jueyu off the planet. This was why Fang Jueyu was fearless. As long as he ever got bored, he could completely restore the world to how it was before he was known, and even those who gained knowledge and skills from the Super God Academy, he had a way to strip them of everything. Young master, you created such a sensation in the academic world this time. You'll be busy for a while. Ha, are you talking about those universities at home and abroad? Fang Jueyu knew what Zhuang Ying was talking about. Don't worry, they can't reach me. As the world's richest man, if he didn't protect his personal information, he'd have no peace. His contact information had always been safeguarded by Xiao Yi, ensuring no unwanted calls or emails could disturb him. It was clear she had cried. Her makeup was slightly messed up, with a subtle smoky look. Her elegant aura was accompanied by a touch of decadence, giving her a unique beauty. Back in the car, Liu Muxu's expression calmed down, then she said, "Axing, take me back to the hotel." Okay. Cao Xing nodded. Just as he was about to start the car, everything suddenly went black. Then everyone heard a synthesized mechanical voice by their ears. The new version update of Seal Age is complete, officially opening the era of public testing. In a minute, all humans on Blue Star will enter this game. Game instructions. This is a world where the sun does not shine. It is vast and boundless but shrouded in cold all day. Your task is to survive in this world. Once the game begins, you'll appear next to a bonfire, your flame of survival. Remember, do not leave the space illuminated by the firelight easily. I agree on behalf of the Dean. In the future, the Dean can add the title of Honorary Professor of Yanjing University to his Weibo profile. At Jiangnan University, what's up with your school's public account? They're stealing your business. Hurry up. The heat didn't die down here. In less than 2 minutes after Yanjing University's post, Qingbei University followed suit immediately. At Fang Jueyu, Mr. Fang Jueyu, Qingbei University sincerely invites you again to join us. In today's academician selection, we are willing to nominate you directly. We hope you consider who is the most sincere. Wow, they even made an academician pie. Damn, that's a big move. The dean is about to turn academician. Generally, this is a very taboo practice. How could the nomination of an academician be used as a bargaining chip? But it depends on who it's for. For Fang Jueyu, even the title of academician didn't seem too much. 21-year-old academician. Dream on, does he even have the qualifications? Even with 20 articles, does he contribute enough to the country? Quickly, an objection emerged. This person didn't post anonymously, but was a professor from a renowned university known as 985 School, specializing in organic polymers. He had published 7 articles in Nature and Science, quite the big shot in academia. Fang Jueyu happened to see this. He admired scientists but hated old-timers. Did he provoke him? He immediately retorted. I heard Professor Zhou recently submitted another paper to Science, right? So what? That Professor Zhou replied immediately. Young people should be down to earth, not aim for the stars. Focus on building up gradually. Thank you for the advice, Professor. I'll gradually build up, so I've decided to submit 200 articles on organic polymers to Science. That should keep them busy for a while. According to the requirements of those journals, once a new development occurs, outdated articles won't be published. For instance, if 2 people submit an article simultaneously, and one improves by 15% on the former research, the other by 20%, they only publish the more significant 20% breakthrough. As long as Fang Jueyu's work was in the same category and stronger, the professor's articles would be nothing but waste. Ha, amazing. The dean nails it when it comes to giving comebacks. Damn, Dean, do you mean you have a lot more unpublished articles? I'm impressed. The dean used to smash people with money. Now he smashes them with research papers. He's too strong. This kind of face-slapping exceeds the scope of my knowledge. Chapter 286-286. Please come to Harvard as a professor. As Yanjing University and Qingbei University successively released their announcements, other schools were not willing to be outdone. Virtually every 211 and 985 university in the nation sent invitations to Fang Jueyu. But that wasn't the end of it. Besides those prestigious schools, other universities also joined in on the frenzy, hoping to piggyback some publicity. After all, with the new college entrance exams approaching, it was time to start competing for students, and what better time to advertise their own universities? It seemed like inviting Fang Jueyu had become a nationwide trend in higher education. If you didn't send him an invitation, you weren't keeping up with the trend. As for Jiangnan University, they confidently fired back with a message that Fang Jueyu was their own outstanding student. Even if it was just nominally, he should be listed under Jiangnan University. Other schools could just take a number and queue behind. Being the center of the commotion, Fang Jueyu could only smile wryly at what looked like a farcical battle for his favor. How had he suddenly become the most sought-after prize of universities across the nation? Meanwhile, inside the headquarters of Weibo, a group of workers was enthusiastically discussing today's hot topics. Compared to the trivialities of the entertainment industry, these academic affairs seemed much more interesting and grandiose. While a single entertainment star could indeed have a lot of followers and maintain a certain level of buzz, how many celebrities could a university produce, and what was their indirect influence? The influence of any school could not be underestimated. With hundreds of universities simultaneously posting such announcements, how could they not attract widespread attention? Ever since Dean Fang became famous, our company's profits have been steadily increasing. Yeah, the ad space has been fully booked lately. This year's revenue is projected to be at least 30% higher than last year. Do you think we should give Dean Fang more titles? I think the title of Dean of Dawn Mental Hospital doesn't quite fit him anymore. How would you write it? Fang Jueyu, Dean of Dawn Mental Hospital, #1 in the world cybersecurity competition, world's richest man, our nation's famed biologist, medical scientist, mathematician, astronomer, physicist. That's way too long, way too long. There's only a tiny spot for a Weibo verification. If we write all that, it won't fit at all. I agree. I think it's time we change the layout of our homepage. What if Dean Fang gets dissatisfied one day and decides to buy us out? Wouldn't that be great? Given his capabilities, if we work under him, our income would rise by several levels. Exactly, you're right, It was clear she had cried. Her makeup was slightly messed up, with a subtle smoky look. Her elegant aura was accompanied by a touch of decadence, giving her a unique beauty. Back in the car, Liu Muxu's expression calmed down, then she said, "Axing, take me back to the hotel." "Okay." Cao Xing nodded. Just as he was about to start the car, everything suddenly went black. Then everyone heard a synthesized mechanical voice by their ears. The new version update of Ice Seal Age is complete, officially opening the era of public testing. In a minute, all humans on Blue Star will enter this game. Game instructions. This is a world where the sun does not shine. It is vast and boundless but shrouded in cold all day. Your task is to survive in this world. Once the game begins, you'll appear next to a bonfire, your flame of survival. Remember, do not leave the space illuminated by the firelight easily. Everyone was momentarily stunned, indeed. These universities might come wooing with money and favorable policies, but do those really have any appeal to Fang Jueyu? They really did. It'd be more tempting to promise to send him a few beauties instead. With that realization, everyone dropped their guard. As long as Fang Jueyu wanted to stay in Huaxia, no offer could sway him. From his previous actions during the currency exchange war when he assisted the nation, it was clear he was a patriotic person. No way could he be lured away by such trivial conditions. Quickly, all the universities' verifications were approved. The old employees handed the remaining work over to some new recruits and interns, then dragged their chairs in front of a computer. MIT, dear Mr. Fang Jueyu, our school sincerely invites you to be a visiting professor. We are also willing to help resolve any citizenship issues, and within 2 years, guarantee you a member position in the United States National Academy of Sciences, plus provide high-end housing and vehicles. We hope you'll consider carefully and await your reply. At Fang Jueyu. It's starting, the employees shouted enthusiastically. What was initially just a godly battle between Huaxia's universities had now gained the involvement of foreign universities, making this battle for talent even more chaotic. Yale University, Stanford University, Oxford University, and others also issued invitations in succession, offering increasingly generous conditions. They seemed to understand that Fang Jueyu was not interested in money, so none of them mentioned it, focusing the offers on policy incentives. Only Harvard hasn't spoken yet. Though there were many rankings of world universities with Harvard not always at the top, to Huaxia people, Harvard University was the most well-known. Just how sincere could they be? Finally, under the watchful eyes of many, Harvard University posted an official message, though their approach was completely different from other schools. Harvard University official, Mr. Fang Jueyu, we're begging you, please come to Harvard to be a professor. At Fang Jueyu. Ha, what talent. This official Weibo must be a spy from netizens infiltrating Harvard University, right? So humble, ha, this tone is just like a little brother. Hey, you're a world-class higher education institution. Have some backbone, ha. Maybe they understood the tastes of Huaxia people, because this announcement had an unexpectedly great effect and even topped the trending list. UC's president looked at this message and nodded with satisfaction. A real talent. Help me find out whose idea this was and give them an offer. If they're willing, they can start as the director of the advertising department tomorrow.